Hi, everybody. Welcome to this month's Photographer Spotlight. It's so great to see so many names that I recognize from past webinars. So if you haven't been to a ShootProof webinar before, welcome. And if you have been, it's so good to see you back again. This month, we are welcoming Marci Reif. She is a photographer from Atlanta, Georgia, which also happens to be where I am. So we're local to each other. Marci is a family, newborn, and maternity photographer. I'm sure you do other stuff too, Marci, but that's how I wanted to introduce you. So thank you so much for coming. It's so great to see you. And we appreciate you being so generous with your time to spend your time with us today.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here. Yes, I live in Atlanta. I have a studio in West Midtown, if there's anybody in the Atlanta area. And just got to meet Karen in person. We did a little project with ShootProof with another photographer. And so I feel like Karen is now becoming a friend because we've been able to chat so much lately. But yes, in my studio, I primarily am doing families, newborns, milestones, maternity, that type of thing. And then lots of other stuff in the background too. I take pictures of kids at preschools, sports, seniors, all kinds of stuff. I love to, try new things. But I would say that my heart definitely lies with kids, families, and that type of thing. I used to be an elementary teacher here in Gwinnett County, where I live. And I did that for 11 years. And kind of in the meantime, I was learning photography and then stepped out of the classroom in 2017 and been doing this full time ever since. So one of the things one of the ways my business has grown in the last, I would say 4 years, is I started styling my clients and building a client closet. And I've taught on a lot of different things, but this is a new thing that I'm teaching. I taught it at a conference not that long ago. And then this is only the second time that I'm teaching this class. But from doing it at the conference, I realized that there is a lot of value and people really do have a big need for helping their clients either style themselves or you style your clients. So this class is 2 parts. It's one part if you would like to dip your toes into styling your clients by maybe building a client closet or helping them shop. Or the second part of the class is just teaching you how to build resources that you can very quickly send to your clients that will help them style themselves. And you don't have to take the time with each family or client or whatever it is to message back and forth. This will just be something that will fill most overall needs with styling. So that's kind of the basis of the class.
Awesome.
So this is.
Do you mind if I do a quick housekeeping before we get started?
Yes.
Just because I see a bunch of people have just dropped in. So we've got a whole new group of people in. So as we're starting, just want to say hello again to everybody. Please do pop in the chat. Let us know where you're from. If you're local here to Atlanta, we'd also love to hear about that. I feel really lucky to have met Marci and a couple of other local photographers recently. And so just building kind of community in different areas of the country, I think is awesome. So if you drop where you're from in the chat, maybe drop your social handle and you could follow each other. That would be awesome. And just a quick reminder that this is being recorded. So we hope you can stick around for the whole thing, but we know there's, stuff happens, especially in the summer when you've got kids at home or if you're at work. So if you need to drop for any reason, it will be recorded. Also, if you have questions as Marci is going along, please drop them in the Q&A tab, which is next to the chat tab. That'll just help us kind of keep an eye on what is a question versus what's people, kind of chatting with each other in the chat. So if you do happen to ask a question in the chat tab, I'm going to move it over to the Q&A tab. So if you see it disappear, it's not gone forever. It's just going to its new home over in the Q&A tab. And I'm just looking, Marci, we've got folks from South Africa here. We've got a couple from Atlanta. We got Birmingham, Colorado, North Carolina. That's awesome. We have another Georgia down in Savannah. So it's so great to see people from so many places. So thank you for coming. And oh, good. People are starting to drop their handles in here too, so we could like follow each other.
Yeah.
I'm going to get my face out of here so you can present, Marcie.
Okay, sounds great.
And I'll see you back at the end for the Q&A portion.
All right, sounds great. And I love the questions, so don't hold back whatever you guys are wondering. I am a teacher at heart. That's what I feel like I was born to do, is be a teacher. So I definitely want you guys to learn a lot. And anytime I teach anything, that is my main goal, is that you guys learn something valuable. So, okay, back to the presentation. So this is just some information if you want to, reach me after the class. I am a Tamron image master, and all of the lenses I use are from Tamron. So I have them on this presentation too. So if you're interested in lenses or what, types of things I shoot with, you'll see that. I definitely have my favorites, 35 to 150, and then their brand new one, 35 to 100, are really my favorite two lenses. Okay, so this one's just for the ladies. Some of you may have heard of the Road Trippers Retreat, but if you love women, community, learning more about photography, chef around the clock, the next Road Trippers is actually in Atlanta. And just for this class, there is a $200 off code. There is only 4 spots left. So if that's something that interests you, there's information there. There's also an Instagram page and all that. You can find all of that with just typing in Road Trippers Retreat. But we'd love to have you there. And then my education page on my website has a lot of other resources too, of ways that you can keep learning photography if that is something that you're looking for. Okay, so let's get to the presentation. So I think we've all had those moments where our clients show up and we look at how they're dressed and we're like, okay, I wish I would have spent more time helping them, or, oh my gosh, they did ask me what they should wear and I forgot to answer that email, or whatever. And the thing is that they're making an investment with you, and a lot of people really do struggle with this part. And you as the photographer might even struggle with this part too. So hopefully this class can help you. But if our client showed up perfectly styled every time, can you imagine just how better your entire business workflow, everything would look? Everything would be kind of branded and all of that. And that's just kind of like the dream. So let's talk about how we can get there. All right. So let's first of all talk about the pain points. I think that we've all been there, where they show up with a big logo on their shirt, or, the thing is, a lot of times people are showing up in clothes that they spend a lot of money on. They just don't go together at all. Mixing prints and colors that don't go well. Neon. I think, we've all seen that, where you get the color casting all over their neck. And so I would say those are the biggest pain points that, we definitely want to steer people away from. And this is the problem that actually changed everything for me. So when I started to build this client closet, it really didn't have anything to do with me building a client closet. It had to do with, I hired somebody to kind of redo my whole website, like a website designer. And they were high end, it was expensive. And I really wanted to just kind of like do this in the best way possible. And she was like, okay, I need you to load a bunch of photos. Well, first of all, she gave me colors, fonts, all this stuff was branded. And then she said, I need you to load a bunch of photos into this folder so I can put them on your website. And I started looking through everything and I was like, oh my gosh, all these colors are mix match and nothing was on the brand colors. And I thought, okay, I'm just going to get a few outfits and I'm going to do a few model calls and I'm going to create some of the images that I need for this new website. And so this is the same family. This is one of my best friends. And so same location and everything. And this is the before and after of me styling them versus them styling themselves. And this was one of the first times, and it really was nice to practice this out on some friends, because they kind of just were like, yeah, do whatever you want. Like, we trust you. And I immediately not only was I excited about the photos for my website because they were what I was looking for, and there was nothing wrong with the photos that I had. It was just that none of them looked like they went together, because I really didn't ever tell people how to dress, because I really didn't care. I figured it's their pictures, I'm not hanging them up in my house. I didn't really care. And then all of a sudden I was investing in this website and I'm like, okay, now I care. And so it just was like this kind of explosion of a light bulb of like, wow, I can't believe how much better the photos look overall. And it was also funny, like the kids didn't have to be smiling perfectly. It was just like things just flowed. It was more pleasing to your eye. And so I started to, I did not have my studio at the time, by the way. I had a little basement studio, and it was small and it was doing the job for a little bit, but I bought these racks and I started shopping. I also love to shop, so that was fun, but I really didn't know what I was doing, but I knew the colors I guess I was going for. So I guess if I think about a color palette, like which I'm going to teach you guys in this class, how to work off of one, that's kind of, I guess, how I started. And I decided no men's clothes, just women and kids. That was what I had kind of set. Well, the racks were quickly getting so heavy that they were falling down to the ground. And all in the same time, the studio became available, and I took that leap and, started renting my studio. And it had a perfect place for a client closet. And this is just another little kind of what I was doing in my basement studio. I would kind of hang the outfits up on those hooks and kind of piece it together in my brain. And then you can kind of see, this is still all the same family. You can kind of see here how it translates here. And it was just fun to mix the patterns and the textures and the colors. And, some of the clothes were my daughter's clothes that she no longer wears. Some of them are my son's, because it's an investment. And so, you got to start out small, and you got to maybe find things that you already have and just buy some key items. And then the studio became available. And this is a little loft that's above the main studio, and it had the perfect place for a client closet. So in a way, I was glad that I started building it. It got pretty big pretty fast, but there was definitely things in there that were kind of making it look full, but I wasn't really using them. So I kind of pulled some of that stuff out after a while, and I started to figure out what I really liked and what really worked best. And I'm going to tell you that too in this presentation. So basically, this now became part of my business. This became part of my brand. I had the studio, I had the client closet, and people were just so excited about it. And also I was realizing that this was becoming part of my client's experience that was also going to help my brand grow. And so instead of looking at it like, oh my gosh, I'm spending all this money on clothes, I started to look at it like, this is a business expense. And this is something that is becoming part of their experience that I can also sell to them. One of the things I hear from people who kind of have started a client closet is I can't get people to wear it. I hear that all the time. I have some things, but I can't get people to wear it. Okay. And that is true, because people don't know what you have. They don't know if they can trust it. They don't know if it's going to look good on them. And instead of showing up or being worried that it's not going to work, they just are like, you know what, it's okay. I'll just bring my own clothes. And so I had this client closet. I had spent, quite a bit of money on it, but I needed to photograph it. And that was one thing that I was like, it felt like a huge daunting task, but I knew that if I was going to get the most out of my investment, I had to take the time to do this. So I waited until January, the slow season, and I just spent a day in my studio, and I just, I bought one of these little, mannequin things, and I just one at a time. I had a tripod set up one at a time. I photographed all the women's dresses. For the kids' clothes, I kind of put them in groups, and we're going to see that. And then I needed a way to showcase it, because sending people to Instagram or sending people links, that just felt like I was spending a lot of time and that I didn't need to spend. So I'm always about working hard, or smarter, not harder. And so although this next thing I'm about to show you did take a lot of time, this is the way that I educate my clients on how the client closet, what they can expect if they choose to do it. So I'm going to switch over here to sharing my screen, and I am going to make sure I'm on the right one. Okay, this is it right here. Share. Okay, so this is the client closet guide. When I send my welcome guide, I send them this. Okay, so here are the dresses, and you'll notice there are some commonalities to these dresses. I like empire waist. I like flowy. You could definitely call it boho style. I've gotten brands that I have realized fit women well. And you'll start to see here that there's some similarities. Okay, this was another way for me to photograph it in groups, and then just these little plus signs that people can see what they look like in the dresses. Okay. This is going to be, I think you can, gotta come down here. Yeah, you can hover over them, and it's interesting because they look one way on this mannequin, but they look another way on the person. These dresses that I love the most are from Reclamation, and I don't know if you've heard of it before, but if you haven't, they're a little pricey, but not crazy. They could definitely be a lot more. They're usually in the $200 to $300 range, but they fit sizes extra small to extra large. And I have definitely put that to the test. So they're really, I mean, most of the time they're for maternity, but they also work so well for after the baby comes. Like this is a newborn wear, but I also have this dress on a mom, and we'll see her somewhere in the presentation here, but it's just, she's just with her family. So they really do fit lots of sizes. And one of the things when I was building the client closet was I can't buy every dress in small to large. So I have some very small dresses. I have mostly medium and large, and then some extra large dresses. But the Reclamation dresses are the ticket to fitting almost all women. Okay, some more examples of how these dresses look. And then I think the big ticket is just galleries of how they look on the women in the family, so that they start to build trust that like, okay, I don't know which one I want, but I know that I like the way these look. A small little part for men. Okay, I definitely don't advertise that I have stuff for men, but I have learned that it is valuable to have a few things on hand just in case they don't come, So this is kind of called ideas for men because they need to come in their own clothes. So I have found pictures of, men, dads that have come dressed that I would recommend somebody else also come dressed. So this is for them to look through and, get some ideas. I want to scroll down to the kids so you can kind of see how the kids collection. So just some like images so they can kind of get an idea of the color palette, the vibe, style, and then lots of little pictures of the kids and how they look in these little cute outfits. And the client closet is changing a lot. I'm adding things a lot. And so I'm not necessarily photographing and dropping everything in here, but they do get an idea of the vibe of, what's there and that sort of thing. So this is how I educate them. This definitely sells it. And also, I'm going to come back to the presentation. This is another way, like if they are trying to decide between two photographers, I'm hoping that when they see something like this, they realize that this has a huge value. There's no extra cost for them to use it. And that they will, choose me over another photographer. And what was I going to say? I can't remember, but so yeah, so that is another value add just to booking a session with you if you have something like that. So when they're signing up and they're booking a session, I have in my form, would you like to use the client closet? Most of the time it's yes. Let's say 95% of people say yes, especially if they've been with me before, they definitely say yes. Sometimes I get a maybe, still thinking about it. I usually don't get a no. It's usually either yes or maybe because they're just not sure. And they might, if it's their first time with me, they might bring some stuff and then I'll already have some stuff out and they're like, oh, we want to go with that. And it just continues to make everything look on brand and continues to help. What they see on the website is what I can deliver to them. All right. So where to begin with building the client closet? Okay. So where to start and how to start smart. Start with buying dresses for mom and toddlers. If you're running like any sort of business like this, where you have, maternity, newborn, you're going to have little toddlers usually in these families. So, starting with flowy dresses for mom, toddlers up to 5T. I would start with Zara and H&M, and I would start with looking at what they have on sale. I think there's a big difference between buying clothes that are cheap and buying nice clothes that are on sale. They can go buy cheap clothes themselves. They can, they can do that. So you want to give them something that they can't do themselves. And these clothes from Zara and H&M they're usually mostly Zara. H&M is kind of a big mix, but you try to find the stuff that is stuff that they wouldn't maybe necessarily buy because they don't know they're going to get enough use out of it. So, but it's definitely something they would want to wear for pictures. Just kind of special things. Simple, timeless, and on your color palette. That was what I would recommend. So you don't have to spend a lot of money, but don't just go looking for, or maybe the little basic parts, maybe a little undershirts. You can spend less on that, but the main pieces, just think of it as an investment and also look for it on sale. I don't buy shoes. In the beginning, I didn't buy any jeans or shorts for boys. I only had shirts, which helped a lot because there's only so many shirts, for boys. You can keep that pretty basic. And don't buy cheap clothes just to fill your racks because they're just going to sit there and take up space, and then clothes for dad. You don't need to do that. And always think quality over quantity with this because the racks can fill up fast and they can get heavy quick. Okay, so these two women are very different in size, but they're wearing the exact same dress. And you can see it looks really nice on both of them. These Empire waist dresses are really nice for, they're flattering on women. They have some sleeves. Women, a lot of times, are self-conscious about their arms. So looking for things that kind of like come off the shoulder or kind of cover their arms, I think photograph really well. And this store is, I think it's on my next. Okay, we'll come back to that. What this store is, Worth Collective is the name of that store, but I'm going to show you that in a couple slides. These are the types of dresses that work. There is definitely dresses that are repeated. And I'm going to tell you, they're mostly all my dresses from Reclamation because I know they're going to fit the women and I don't have to worry about, I don't ever want anybody to go try something on and it's too tight. I never, ever want them to feel like it's not working. And I think some of the cheaper brands of clothes, they're just not cut right. And so if you start figuring out what brands fit women well, you want them to feel really good for their pictures. And especially if you have sold them that, you've got clothes for them. I almost never, ever have women that don't put on the first 2 or 3 things that I show them and they love it. So but that really does come from the Reclamation dresses, especially for maternity and after baby. These ones are just kind of ones that didn't work. And some of these honestly were just my dresses that I had in my closet that I thought, I like these, I'm going to just do it. But it was sort of a way of me just kind of filling the racks, to make it look full. But I just didn't like the way that, they were photographing. And so they just all came out. All right. So here are my favorite stores for a women. Like I told you, Reclamation Design Company, this brand mostly runs through her Instagram. She has an Etsy shop and a Shopify store. And so I mostly see everything on her Instagram and I tap it and I see one that I like. And so that's mostly how I shop those dresses. They're very high quality. They're really, really nice and they last. They're worn a lot. I wash them. This one right here, particularly, I don't know if you can see my mouse, but this one gets worn all the time. And I've started to learn the cuts, I guess you would say, or the style, because she'll make this style in different, fabrics and stuff. And I just know what people tend to like. So Worth Collective is another really good one. That one is definitely good for, after baby, and they're usually bump friendly, but those might be better for like just family stuff and not in that whole baby period. And then Free People, we know that Free People can be all over the place, but these types of dresses right here have been worn a lot in my years of doing this. And especially this color right here, if you can see the mouse, the kind of the mauve pink one, and then the cream one. And then Baltic Born is another great one. That's going to be more like your family stuff, not so much that first year stuff. So with the babies, I started out with all the knits from Zara and kind of followed this little color palette. These are still being used all the time. And things that are timeless, we know are going to just last the test of time. So if been really, really happy with that stuff. I put that on a lot of milestone and a lot of newborns. All the little knit things that you see, if you go to my Instagram and you see the newborn stuff, almost all of those little knit outfits are from Zara in the newborn size. My favorite place to shop for kids is Zara, H&M, Oat & Co., Jamie K, Riley and Crew, and Nora Lee, H&M, Zara, Indie Blue. I would say a lot of stuff in my closet from the kids is Jamie K and Zara, and then little bits of these other brands. School age kids, like girls, Indie Blue has some really cute stuff, Joyfully, Zara, and then boys, H&M and Zara. I think you can pretty much just be done with those two stores. Okay, what to leave at the store? We already talked about this a little bit. Shoes, discounted clothes, men's clothes. I went to H&M and got almost all these shirts on the men's sale rack. So different sizes. I've got small all the way up to like extra large. And they've definitely been used, but there's just a small handful of them. All right, how to fund the client closet. This is going to be a valuable part of the class, I think. So I kind of stumbled upon this when I was first opening my studio. I had my client closet and I wanted to practice in there and get lots of content that I could start sharing. And so I put out a model call. And I truly was just thinking this model call is just going to be for me to get content. I had no other real intentions, but I had this huge response, like 50 families. And I was just like, whoa, like there's a lot of people who want to have their pictures taken. And thankfully, before I started it, I had put a limit on like how many photos they could get. So for families, I said 5 photos, and they would have the ability to purchase more photos if they wanted to. And I basically decided I was only going to take like 3 families when I first started this, but I thought, you know what, there's a lot of families that want to be photographed. I have a lot of clothes and a lot of practice I need to do in there. So let's just make this a whole day. So I just took as many families. I went through them and I tried to pick as much diversity as I could, everything I could think of, different shapes, sizes, colors, everything of people who I could photograph in my studio, but also get them into the clothes. And I ended up, okay, so, and I was very clear with them that you get 5 photos. So I was even like, check this box. If I understand, I only get 5 photos and I can purchase more, because I didn't want this to be like a surprise. And this is where I was able to use ShootProof a lot, because when I delivered all these galleries, I was able to set rules where they could only download 5 photos. And then I created little packages where they could put all of their digitals into the cart, like just, made a package. And then I gave them a discount code of 60% off. And so it came out to be around $400-ish, something between $400 and $500 for them to get their full gallery. I spent about 15 to 20 minutes with each family, and they had 30 to 40 pictures in their galleries. And so most families bought the whole thing, which was to my surprise. And I think too, the whole discount made them feel also like they were getting something extra special for doing this. And pretty much just what I did was whatever the full price would have been, I just let them use the 60% off code. So it was like a mini session. And I put the numbers, let's see right here. So that first model call, I made $2,250. And I was like, wow, like that was so unexpected, but so needed. And I thought about how that money could, be used in so many ways, like to help fund a lot of the clothes I had purchased. And then I did it the next year again, and I had bought, more clothes throughout the year. And I did it again in 2024, and I brought in $2,350. And then I did it again in 2025, and it was $3,221. So that is one way that you can start to build some funds, or start to gain some funds to build your client closet. I think basically in these slides, I'm just telling you how I did it. And also at the end of this presentation, I have a QR code for you guys. You can have the whole presentation. So this is sort of written kind of like an ebook / presentation. And this, so you guys are going to get this. So it's, if you need to come back and read this about how I set everything up. But the back end using ShootProof was really helpful. I also password protected. I put all of them into one gallery in their own folders and password protected everybody's galleries. So I could just send one link, and that was also really helpful and saved a lot of time. So there is a way to help you get something like this started. Plus, the other thing I want to say is that I have so many photos. If you look at my website and my client closet guide and my Instagram and all of these things, so many of these photos are from these model calls. And even in this presentation, all 3 of those photos right there are from the model call. It just feels a little bit more appropriate to just be able to put these, families and faces all over, the website when they know that they came in for a model call and they are saying like, yes, use my pictures, So you also will have a lot of pictures that are branded the way that you want them to be. Okay. So I was just talking about that, but model call benefits, you can make yourself look busy, even if maybe you're in a slow time. A model call is a great thing to do in a slow time. It can make you look busy with lots of sessions to post, or you can even, make different content of you shooting them behind the scenes. I've always had a photographer come in and shoot behind the scenes on these big days because, again, just more content. You want to get as much out of it as you can. People who sign up for these model calls oftentimes come back for a regular session or a mini session. So you're also getting people in front of your camera. They're learning how you work with their kids and the type of experience they can have with you. And you also get to practice. If you're trying to learn something new, or you want to start to photograph a different genre that you're not sure of, that's another great time to do a model call and just practice anything you need. Here's just some more pictures of just some of the different model calls that we have done. The budget strategy, it's okay if you're going to start to build something like this, it's okay to raise your prices a little bit and put part of that percentage towards this closet. Shopping sales, January and February is the time where I get on my computer and I start scoping all the sites that I like, that I know photograph well, people like, and I start to look for sales, and just build it slowly, one thing at a time. And it's okay. I have some of the same dresses that get worn all the time for the same sessions. So you don't have to worry about, oh, so-and-so wore that. And, people don't care. They're not seeing each other's photos. Okay. So that is the first part of the presentation that I told you I would teach you about building a client closet yourself. Also, I hope that you were able to just get down some names of some stores that you can share with your clients too, if they're going to shop themselves. But now we're going to bridge the gap between you helping them style themselves. Okay. Maybe you're not ready for a client closet yet, or you only have a little bit, or maybe you only want to dress, maternity or whatever. But let's go to the next part of the class where we talk about what you can do and what you can send your clients. Okay, so we're going to talk about getting a dad inspo page, or male, men, whatever, where they're in outfits that you approve, styles, colors that you approve. Creating an ideas page for them so that they can go through and look at, places, different ideas of what to buy. And then color palettes are honestly the answer to everything. So let's get started. This is a dad inspo pic that I send to people. I also have it in the guides and everything, but I tell them, earth tones, just this type of thing. Simple, no words, no logos. These colors work great. I tell them, try not to dress like you're going to work. There's a difference between khaki pants, like trousers, like a pair of Dockers that you're going to wear to work, or like this type of, if you can see my mouse, I don't know if you can, this type of brown pants that are like stylish khaki pants, dress shirts, like it's you can have like a men's dress shirt with like pinstripes, or you can still have a button-up shirt that's a little bit more casual. So people see this and they're like, oh, okay, I can do that. I might even already have that. It's common sense to maybe you, but not to them. Okay, this is another thing that we're going to open a link, and this is styling your own session. I made this as a page on my website. And another thing I tell, let's see here real quick, guys. Yeah, this is it. I am very big on running my photography business well. Okay, that's another thing I teach a lot about. So if you are looking to make more money in your business, have it run better, just all the tips and tricks, that is something I love to teach on too. But one of the main basic things I'm always telling people is always bring people to your website, because when people are searching for services that you can provide them, they're most likely going to go to Google and they're going to start searching for this type of photographer near me. And so if you can do this two ways. You can go to Canva and build a PDF and then just send it to them, but that's not doing anything for your SEO. But if you can build a page on your website where people will stay on your website, they're going to scroll and look and read, then that's building your SEO. And what I like to call it is, all of these websites are like a popularity contest. Which website gets the most traffic? Which website do people stay at the longest? And this tells Google, okay, I need to bump this one up to the top because people are on this website a lot, in basic terms. Okay, so this is styling your own session. Okay, so I have the client closet. I mostly can style people, but I do a lot of mini sessions in the fall and at Christmas time and in the spring, and I do not style them for that because there's just not time and it's a mini session. So they need to style themselves. So this is something I would send them. And all of these graphics are made on Canva. So you're going to go to Canva and make these, but you're going to bring them back to your website like an image. So if you can send them something like this, a color palette, and show them pictures, this really, really helps them to do that. Okay. So we have tips for men, talking about, the different types of clothes, and tips for women, shoes. A lot of people forget to buy their kids shoes and they show up with their little light up school tennis shoes, which is okay. I don't mind. It's their pictures, but they might just need a little reminder that, you can go to Walmart, Target, Amazon and get some cute shoes. Favorite shops. This is going to, go a long way with them too. And then color palettes. Okay, that's actually down here. So I made all these on Canva a long time ago, actually. And the way that it works, it's really cool if you haven't done it, and I'm going to show you in this presentation, is you can search color palette or color swatch, and it will actually bring up something like this with all these boxes here. You drop your picture in, and Canva will populate all the colors it sees. So you pretty much start, like this family dressed themselves, okay? They came and dressed themselves, but I love the way that they dress themselves. So I took this picture and I'm like, I'm going to build a color palette based on that. And you can manipulate the color palette a little bit if it's not bringing up the colors that you really like. This color palette is so helpful for extended families. I send this one to extended families all the time because no matter what your age, we have grandma, we have teenager, this color palette is going to work for all ages. They're all going to have something that they're comfortable in this color palette, and it photographs well. So something like that is helpful for extended families. But what you're doing is you're also just kind of training their eye. Like, how should I dress for my photo session? Okay. And then a nice little gallery of just, this is how it looks when you follow something like this. And hopefully they will, be inspired and follow it. Okay. So let's go back to the presentation, back to the slides. Okay. This one, I'm going to also show you, I think this is another page I have. Yes, it's a Christmas one. Okay. So I do a lot of Christmas photos, and I realized that people were really dressing kind of wild for these Christmas photos, mostly like they were mixing patterns, mixing Christmas plaids. And I was just like, oh boy, we got to stop that. So and I was getting a lot of questions about how should we dress? How should we dress? How should we dress? And I just was like, I got to do something about this. So I created little color palettes for all the different setups that I was going to be doing. These color palettes are mostly all the same. So let's just, know that. But people started dressing so much better. And then I have better pictures to share. So again, it's a win-win. I also went through, and this was a little extra, but I just screenshotted. These are not linked. I didn't, there was no affiliate codes or anything like that. I did not have the time to do it, but I just went through my favorite sites, screenshotted. And because of the volume that I'm doing at the Christmas time, this saved me so much time to just do this instead of answering. If anybody emailed me, I was just like quickly would send them the link. And also with their, their welcome email and stuff, I would have this. So, you can find great dresses on Amazon for stuff like this. Baltic Born, just kind of going through my favorite little shops for stuff like this. This was time consuming, but it does help people. And shoes, different ideas. So that is that. Let's go back to the slides. Okay, so the color palette magic, let's talk about how to make them. I also made these just for this season, for the studio, for the spring, and this was the one I used at Christmas time. Again, just find these cute little palettes on Canva, and just a few more ideas of what they look like. Okay, so now I'm going to teach you how to do it. Okay, so you go to Canva and you type in color palette or color swatch, and this is what is going to start to come up. Okay, you see all these things with, some of them have pictures, some of them don't, but you decide, do you want it to just be one picture? Do you want it to be multiple pictures? Whatever you're going for, something is there. So once you select one of them, you're going to start to be able to, customize it. So you drop in your own photos, and then this little thing right here. Karen, can we see my mouse since I am moving things around?
I cannot see I see where you have it highlighted right now, though.
You do? Okay.
Yeah. But I don't see your mouse. I see like the purple kind of outline.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Because I'm talking like you guys can see it, but I don't know. Okay. Well, maybe what you're seeing is where it is like the screenshot. So up at the very top, the top bar where it says edit, and then it has a little circle with the color, you click on that. And then if you look over here to the left, it brings up every single picture that you've put in, and it puts all of those colors there. And so now you go back over to your image, and each box that you see here, you click the box and you can change it to any one of those colors off to the left to build your color palette. And so sometimes it might not be exactly, because I like to throw in like a little bit of pink or mauve, or, I don't want it to just all be shades of brown or tan. So I like to have a little bit of like olive green, cream, pinkish, so I'll manipulate it a little bit, but it gives you all those colors that you can choose from. So you're not sitting there having to try to figure out like, how do I get it to show this color? I think that is so cool that it does that. So if you do it and you don't see all that, just give it a minute. Sometimes it has like a little thinking time, and eventually they'll all start to show up there. So don't be worried if it's not like right away. Okay, so website and SEO, how can this help you? I touched on it a little bit, but this can bring people to your website and also help them find you, because people do go to Pinterest and Google and they type in, what should I wear for my family session? And so if you already have these guides up there with keywords where they can be found, it might bring somebody to your website, and it might get you a client where they might not have found you before, or it might just drive traffic to your website where, again, it's just boosting your visibility on Google. Putting FAQs that can help with the keywords that people might be used to search with. And also with Pinterest, if you like to make Pinterest posts or pins, I should say, that can also drive traffic to your website. Blog posts or pages on your website to show, how to dress. And then again, like we said, clients will spend time on there, and that will help your SEO ratings. The difference that this has made is just unbelievable, but there's so much confidence on both sides of the camera. I feel confident because I just know that they look great, and they feel confident because they feel great. The images are easy to edit. We don't have like color casting going on, or just different things like that. And it starts to look like a recognizable brand too. You start to see the style and the colors and everything, and people will start to recognize that, oh yeah, I know this photographer, this is becoming recognizable. And clients absolutely love it. And it's so fun to watch them just be like so happy and excited about it. And they're usually especially with the milestones, they come in and I'll have all these cute little outfits for their 6-month-old or their 1-year-old. And they just, we can put on 3 outfits or 4, depending on what their child, but they love them so much. And it makes me so happy. And they're just like, this is so cute. And they can't decide. And, which is another point I want to bring up. I do not take them upstairs to the whole client closet. I usually have things pulled for them downstairs when they walk into the studio. And so it's not overwhelming. Sometimes I know them and I know what's going to look good on them, but sometimes I don't. And I just, do my best guess. I have them tell me who's going to be photographed, what their age, their size. And I take my best guess. And then, rarely, but it does happen where it's not quite right, or I can kind of tell that they might want to see more, and then I will walk them up if needed. But so it's not that I don't take people up there, but I don't start people up there because I think it will overwhelm them. And they do want my advice. So even when they can't decide, they're still looking at me and be like, you pick, what photographs well. And then I'll, help them make the final choice. Okay, so this is the part of the presentation where we're going to talk about questions, but also you guys can scan the QR code to get this guide. This is just the presentation. So you have all these resources. All of the links that I showed you today are in that presentation too, so that you can go back and look through that if this is something that you're interested in doing yourself. And there's my Instagram handle. You can follow me and ask me questions through DMs, or you can email me too. And if we don't cover the question here, but those are just more ways to contact me. And Karen, I'll turn it over to you and we'll start with the questions.
There was so much information in there. And so far we only have 2 questions because as you were going, I think it was answering like what everyone had in mind. But I think as soon as you start answering these 2, people are going to have other questions. So let's start with Anne, who asked, do the model call families have expectations for getting the same price later on if they come back for a full price session?
No, I don't think so. I think they know a model call is different. And that's the other thing too, with that whole 60% off code, because they see that full price. So when they drop it in their cart, I think it said like $890. And then they use the code and they were like, okay, I know I'm getting a discount because it came to the model call. So also they know that if they do come back, what your prices are. A lot of those people are going to come back though for mini sessions. And that is a-okay with me because I love to do mini sessions at different times of the year, because I think you can make 4 times the money in a day than you could with just single family. So I love to fill those days up too. And you're always going to have people who are looking for that. And you're always going to have people who are looking for full sessions. So I think it works both ways.
And for your mini sessions, do you do those in your studio or elsewhere, or both combinations?
So I do them twice a year. I think mini sessions are just something that are really only going to be profitable when there's a high demand for photos. So like we know fall and Christmas and the holidays, and then spring would be your second highest demand with like senior sessions or, maybe little cap and gown, whatever. But spring is still less demand than fall. So in the fall, I will build a whole schedule of days that I do them, and I send that all out to them. And I do them in my studio. I do them out at the field. I do them at Prospect Farms where they have a lot of the Christmas setups. So I do them all over. I have lots of days, but it's not they can't contact me and say, I just want to do a mini session on this day in your studio. It's got to be, oh no, I'm doing those on November 8th. You're welcome to sign up if there's, there might be some available, there might not, but it's definitely just on whatever's on the schedule.
I think a lot of people have a incorrect vision of what a mini session really is. So it's good to educate them on that.
Yeah. You don't ever want to give those away just on their terms. So if a mini session it's going to be very profitable for the photographer and convenient for the client, they're getting a smaller price, but the idea is that you're making 4 times the amount in that hour than you would if you were just doing one session. So
yeah. Awesome. Okay. Debbie asks, for your Christmas pictures, do you use your studio or do you pay to use those specific locations? And those are for the full length ones that you were showing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Both. So I have about 3 or 4 days in my studio that I do. I build my own Christmas set. which is expensive. And so I definitely am thankful for the other places like Prospect Farms who build those sets, because it takes a lot of storage, and, you know, I kind of plan them like throughout the year, and I'm very thankful for the other places. So I do about 4 days at Prospect Farms and about 3 days in my studio, 3 or 4.
I've actually been to Prospect Farms for my daughter's senior session, and I'm curious. I found it obviously through the photographer who did her session, but how did you as a photographer find that location? Because for those of you who aren't local, which is most of you, Prospect Farms has, it's a farm that has many different scenes and places. I mean, you know, a lot, like probably 10 different or more. So how do you find those?
Well, they are very good at advertising. So I mean, right when they opened, I remember I was seeing them pop up and people talking about them, but there's a lot of places like that around the, you know, other states and places and stuff. So I see photographers, you know, using those locations. So it's basically a business for them. And, you know, the people who live there are not photographers, but they know that they have beautiful land. And I'm sure it's big investments for them to set up these sets, and they're not cheap. So, you know, I do for 1 hour, I'll do 6 sessions every 10 minutes at these little Christmas sets. And because it's going to cost about $250 an hour for me to be there. So you got to think of this as, you know, you're here to make money. You know, this is a job. So we're not out here for nonprofit, you know, so if you're going to spend $250 to use one of those sets, then, you know, you've got to make it profitable. So if somebody contacts me and it says, I really want to, you know, go to Prospect Farms, I can't come to any of your mini sessions. I mean, they're going to pay the full price plus the rental fee. That's not worth it to them. I mean, if it is, that's fine. I'll do it. But I hate to, you know, do that. So
I did it.
You did it? Did you do it for Christmas though, or did you do it?
No, it was in the summer for a senior session.
Yeah. So that's a little different. Yes,
yeah. It is. But I was still willing to pay. So there are people willing to pay for
people. Yes. And I, you know, do that a lot too with other people. So, but the Christmas stuff, to have a 10-minute session, you know, that's a lot of money to do that. Different when it's a family or a senior, or you're going to use these photos and have them up and, you know.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Next one, let's go on to Jamie, who says, if a client says no to the client closet altogether, will you talk or walk them through styling, or just direct them to your style guide and palettes?
If somebody, like I said, they almost never say no. They usually say maybe. they hardly ever like shut it down. So I mean, it doesn't happen very often. So really the only time it's happening is with the mini sessions, because I'm not styling them. So they kind of get that automatically. But if this happened and somebody, you know, said, usually for me, it will be like a family who they want to wear, I'm trying to think of like the right word, but clothes like to their heritage, you know, and they might be of a certain nationality where they want to wear clothes, you know, and that is absolutely fine with me. And that, you know, that means a lot to them. And I am never going to say, oh, you shouldn't do that. You know, that means something to them, that's special to them. And sometimes they'll also bring that, but then they'll say, we want to wear this, but we also want to use your client closet. But if they just said, you know, we are going to wear our own clothes, but do you have anything? Then that's where the style guide, Style on Your Own, comes in. And on the client closet guide, at the very top of it, it does say Style on Your Own. So it'll take them to one of those pages that I showed you where they can do that by themselves too.
Awesome. Okay. Bethany has a question that's something similar to what I think I spoke to you about when we met in person, because I am not a stylish person and this would not be something that I would ever feel like I could do. So what Bethany asks is, do you have any tips or guides to improve knowledge on how to coordinate colors or styles together for someone who isn't exactly savvy in that department?
Okay. So like for the photographer, okay. So I think that, like almost like doing your own research. Like maybe there's a photographer that you really love and you just like love the way the clients are dressed. Maybe I would go to that Instagram or that portfolio and I'd start to look and see like what colors are they putting together. You might see like a lace and then like a gingham or, you know, just different types of things like that. And then you just kind of see what you like and what speaks to you and maybe start making lists or screenshots. And, you know, that would be, I guess, the best. I think because I like to shop and I like clothes, I think this does come a little easier to me. But I think, you know, sometimes when I'm putting outfits together, like on this page, the family or the family that you see kind of like right under like the word question, but ONS, this family, they had a lot of kids and I didn't really know how it was going to go because they're like a lot of teenagers, you know, and it worked. And I was almost like figuring out as I go, like what looks good together and what patterns and stuff like that. So sometimes you just figure it out as you go. But I think once you
Almost
get
like
started,
immersion, like immerse yourself in learning about it. And, you know, I have not actually ever thought about this before until I saw your client closet a few weeks ago when we worked together. And I realized that now when I see your photos, it's like your photos are instantly recognizable because they do become an extension of your brand. So I think that right there is the first step, is recognizing that that's even a thing, and then figuring out, you know, what's comfortable for yourself. Like you mentioned your boho, and you kind of like the neutrals with, you know, some pinks and greens kind of mixed in. That doesn't have to be everybody's thing. Like everyone can find their own, what speaks to them, but just being aware of it and starting to see it and immersing yourself in it. I want to become a photographer again. I'm going to open my business back up because now I want to do this.
That's awesome. I'm glad you feel inspired.
Too bad I have this day job.
I think it can be, I can only imagine if how overwhelming something like this could be. But if I can tell you where I see it the most, where I am the most hands off with how I'm styling them, is the Christmas sessions, because I do like 120 Christmas mini sessions of these little 10 minutes. I do not have time to guide them through this. And so sending them those color palettes for the holiday sessions and seeing the difference of how they are showing up now versus before I did that, just the color palette. And it doesn't even really matter like what it is. Like it's their style of clothing, because a lot of grandparents come to these Christmas sessions. And so they're going to dress their age and what they're comfortable in. But just them being in the colors that flow makes such a big difference.
That's awesome.
And the pictures are just overall so much more pleasing. And I think that when they share the pictures that they take, or the Christmas card or holiday card, whatever it is, people will also see your work and think, I want to get my pictures taken by this photographer because I love the way the picture looks. And they might not realize that it's so pleasing because of just the color flow, but they like it. It's just, you know.
Yeah. And also I think word of mouth, because then, you know, I could imagine showing photos like that to a friend and them commenting on how they look, and me saying, my photographer made it so easy. You know, so just like that part of it for me as the mom when my kids were growing up, that was so intimidating to me to like find clothes, because my kids don't like wearing, you know, things that are stiff. so it's like taking that weight off of their shoulders, which is such a service to them. And it kind of elevates your service, and the word of mouth that comes from it, I'm sure does nothing but help your business even more.
Yep. And as a mom, also, I know what you're talking about. You show them the clothes and they're like, I'm not wearing that. You know, I have a really strong-willed, picky daughter. So we fought on this all the time. But when they come into the studio and it's me that's, you know, kind of showing them what they're going to wear, it takes mom out of it, where mom is not the one who's the bad guy. Now, I would say this family that I was just talking about with these older teenager kids, there was one of them who was really a little bit more of a tomboy, and she didn't really want to wear a dress. And it was really hard. Her mom was kind of caught between like wanting her to be comfortable, but her mom did want her to wear the dress. But just having me as a middle person who was telling her how nice she looked and how, beautiful she is. And it just kind of took away versus if they were at home and mom was like, all right, you all are wearing these clothes. They might have had like a huge blowout before they came. And, so, and we did have some rompers and stuff in there that she could try. Cause I think rompers are really good for preteens who are kind of in between, like the little girl and, my daughter's 16, she loves to wear a dress now, but when she was like 11 and 12, she didn't want to. So we had a lot of rompers, and that was like a really good middle piece for them. So I do have a lot of rompers in and that's kind of just from her. They're from, some of the things I had bought for her too. So just kind of piecing it all together.
Yeah. All right. Greta says, is your closet available to your high school senior clients?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know that they would love everything in it. And I'm, transparent about that. When they look at the sizes and stuff, it's going to say women's, sizes. And then it's going to say like what the kids are. Because I have a daughter, a teenager, I do have some things, but I am not so much selling that to a senior client. I'm more like helping them with where to go get the clothes. That's also very much to their personality too, when you're doing a senior session. So yeah, definitely open, and people have definitely taken advantage of it. But if I was a really big senior photographer, which I'm really not, that would be one of the smaller things that I do. I would absolutely start creating, building a client closet for stuff like that.
Yeah, I've seen some senior photographers who will have like a whole wall of like accessories, like hats or scarves or, bags, shoes, things like that. So, I think it just depends on what your main client is. All right. Yeah. Camissa, I hope I'm saying your name correctly. What do you give your clients in mini sessions? Digitals, prints, both?
I give them digitals, and I am all about making this as easy and as quick for myself as possible, because you want to make the most money you can with mini sessions. And so I think that when you charge the price that you want to be paid, and you give them the photos that you can deliver, and you just hand it off, then you're done. But if you charge less and then try to upsell, there is a lot of back and forth that goes on, and that's a lot of your time. I think it can also mess with your mental space a little bit, because you're worried, do they like them? Are they going to pick all of them? Instead of just setting a price that you want to get paid. And then you don't have to worry about that. You don't have to worry about, anything else. So I also do build some packages though on ShootProof for mini sessions, because I know at Christmas time and holidays, they do buy them as gifts. And I thought, that's one more way to earn a little bit of extra money off of the mini session. So I built a package where they can just drop and drag. They can also buy it a la carte, individually. But the point was that they would save money if they did it through a package, and then they can give those away as gifts. So I don't get a ton of people that take me up on that, but that's okay, because my business is not built around that. It's built around that price that they pay, and that covers my costs. And so I'm, being well compensated.
I think one of the things, if anyone is looking to do kind of like make a little bit extra around the holiday time, is keeping your galleries on ShootProof, either archiving them or just keeping them up, and then doing a email campaign around holiday time. Because even those people who, maybe their session was in February or March, when you get back around to the holiday time, those become gifts again. They're enough removed from it that they might have, kind of gone on to something else. And then when you send them an email campaign with maybe like a little holiday sale or something like that, it just gives them that little reminder. And I've heard of people having great success with sales. Yeah. So just because, you have your gallery up for a little bit and then close it, doesn't mean you can't go back and try to sell through it again.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Oh, Camissa just says, this has been most helpful. Thank you. All right. Well, that is it. That was all the questions we have. I think your presentation was just so packed full of information. So many answers to so many questions already in it. So Thank you so much again for spending so much time with us today. And I feel like this is a lot of information that you have just generously gifted our community here at ShootProof, and I really appreciate it.
Well, I'm so glad to do it. It was fun, and yeah, I'm just thankful that you guys asked me.
Well, maybe we can come up with another topic and have you back again.
Sounds great.
Okay. So just as a reminder for everybody else on the call, when the webinar ends, you'll be dropped on a survey, and it will ask you what other topics you want to learn about. And for these types of webinars that we have, which we call Photographer Spotlight webinars, we have guest speakers come in and kind of talk about what is their thing, what's their superpower. So if you have anyone that you want to nominate for a Photographer Spotlight webinar, please be sure to include their name in there. They don't have to be a ShootProof user. Drop it in there. We'll add it to our list. And if you don't know anybody, just dropping a topic in there that you'd like to learn about is also super helpful, because then we know what you're looking to learn. Lori asks if there will be a replay. Yes. So everyone will get an email probably in about 2 or 3 hours after the video renders, and it will have the replay plus the resources that Marcie provided here. So it'll have a link to that as well. So everyone's covered. You'll get to see it all. All right. Thank you again, Marcie. We hope to see you again soon.
Okay, sounds great. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. I have to figure out how to end the webinar now. Sorry, this is the awkward part where we sit. All right. See you soon. Have a great